Morning sunlight poured through the tall glass windows of Hawthorne Children's Hospital as dozens of parents hurried through the busy lobby. In the middle of the crowd stood a humble single father holding his little daughter's hand while trying to calm her nervous smile before a routine medical appointment. When a confused receptionist mistakenly asked if the elegant woman standing beside him was his wife, the exhausted father laughed softly and jokingly replied, "She's my wife." Before he could explain that he was only teasing, the beautiful CEO beside him suddenly blushed, lowered her eyes, and quietly whispered, "I wish that were true." The entire lobby fell silent. Nobody understood why one of the country's most admired CEOs had responded that way to an ordinary single father, but within minutes, an extraordinary story of love, sacrifice, and second chances was about to begin. If you believe kindness, genuine love, and second chances still exist, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in true love, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories that inspire hope. Elias Rowan had never planned to raise a child alone. 5 years earlier, his beloved wife, Hannah, lost her battle with a rare illness only weeks after giving birth to their daughter, Lily. From that heartbreaking day forward, Elias promised that Lily would grow up surrounded by enough love to make her mother proud. He worked long hours restoring antique furniture in a small workshop, often taking extra jobs late into the evening just to make sure Lily never felt the weight of their financial struggles. Although money was always tight, laughter never disappeared from their tiny home. Lily was a cheerful little girl with endless curiosity and a heart full of compassion. She often left handmade drawings inside her father's lunchbox, reminding him that he was the strongest person she knew. Those simple notes became Elias's greatest source of strength whenever loneliness threatened to overwhelm him. Every difficult day became worthwhile the moment he heard his daughter laugh. Across the city, Vivian Ashcroft lived a life that looked perfect from the outside. She was the young CEO of Ashcroft Medical Technologies, a global healthcare company worth billions of dollars. Business magazines praised her intelligence, investors admired her leadership, and employees respected her discipline. Yet when the cameras disappeared and the meetings ended, Vivian returned each evening to a silent penthouse that felt colder than any boardroom. Years devoted entirely to building her company had left little room for friendships, family, or love. That morning, Vivian visited the Children's Hospital to announce a major charitable partnership that would provide life-saving equipment for young patients. She insisted on walking through the hospital without a large security team because she wanted to meet the families whose lives the program would support. As she crossed the lobby, Lily accidentally dropped her favorite stuffed rabbit onto the floor. Vivian gently picked it up, dusted it off, and returned it with a warm smile that instantly eased the little girl's anxiety. Moments later, the receptionist glanced between Elias, Lily, and Vivian before smiling awkwardly. Believing they were a family, she casually asked whether she should register Vivian as Lily's mother. Embarrassed, Elias laughed and jokingly answered, "She's my wife." The joke lasted only a heartbeat. Vivian looked at Elias with eyes filled with unexpected emotion. A soft blush colored her face as she quietly replied, "I wish that were true." Everyone nearby froze. Elias immediately apologized, explaining that he never meant to embarrass her. But Vivian simply smiled. For reasons she could not explain, standing beside this gentle father and his daughter felt more genuine than any glamorous event she had attended in years. While Lily received her examination, Elias and Vivian found themselves talking in the hospital garden beneath the bright morning sky. They spoke about family, grief, responsibility, and the quiet strength required to keep moving forward after losing someone you love. Vivian admitted that despite all her professional success, she often felt like the loneliest person in every room she entered. Elias listened without judgment, offering no grand advice, only sincere understanding. Neither of them realized that photographers attending Vivian's charity event had quietly captured the moment when the CEO smiled beside the humble single father and his daughter. By late afternoon, those photographs had spread across social media. Millions of people began asking the same question. Who was the unknown man who made the nation's most admired CEO smile like that? And before sunset, the answer would change both of their lives forever. The photograph spread across the internet before the sun had disappeared behind the city skyline. News websites, entertainment pages, and business magazines all published the same image, the powerful CEO smiling beside an unknown single father while a little girl held both of their hands. Thousands of people began inventing stories, wondering if the mysterious man was secretly wealthy or someone famous who had managed to stay out of the public eye. Very few imagined the truth. Elias Rowan returned home that evening to the same modest apartment, cooked homemade soup for Lily, helped her finish her homework, and tucked her into bed exactly as he did every night. He had no idea that the entire country was talking about him. The following morning, reporters gathered outside Ashcroft Medical Technologies hoping to question Vivian Ashcroft. Her board of directors looked concerned. Several investors believed the growing attention surrounding the photograph could damage the company's carefully polished public image. Some executives quietly suggested that Vivian release a statement explaining that the man in the picture was simply a stranger she happened to meet during a charity visit. They expected her to distance herself immediately. Instead, Vivian surprised everyone. She calmly told the board that the only reason people were discussing the photograph was because genuine kindness had become so rare that it captured everyone's attention. She refused to apologize for treating a father and his daughter with warmth and respect. Her answer silenced the entire room. Meanwhile, Elias arrived at his small furniture workshop before sunrise. The familiar scent of fresh wood and varnish always reminded him of happier days when Hannah stood beside him designing handmade cabinets and rocking chairs. Although business had become difficult over the years, he refused to lower the quality of his work. Every piece carried the same care and craftsmanship because he believed honesty should never depend on the size of a customer's wallet. Late that afternoon, a sleek black car stopped outside the workshop. Several neighbors immediately peeked through their windows. A chauffeur opened the rear door. Vivian stepped out. She wore a simple cream-colored dress instead of an expensive business suit, hoping to avoid unnecessary attention. The workshop suddenly felt very quiet as she looked around at the shelves filled with unfinished furniture, family photographs, and children's drawings taped proudly to the wall. She finally understood how Elias had raised Lily. Not with luxury, but with love. Lily ran toward Vivian with excitement, proudly showing her a tiny wooden birdhouse she and her father had built together. Vivian knelt beside her, listening carefully as the little girl explained every painted flower and every crooked nail with enormous pride. Watching them laugh together, Elias felt something unfamiliar. Hope. For the first time since Hannah's passing, his home no longer felt completely empty. Over the next several weeks, Vivian visited often. She never arrived with expensive gifts or photographers. Instead, she helped Lily paint toys for a children's charity, shared simple dinners around the small kitchen table, and listened to Elias speak about his dreams, fears, and memories of Hannah. In return, Elias reminded Vivian how peaceful life could be when success was measured by moments instead of headlines. But not everyone welcomed their growing friendship. Vivian's former fiancé, Adrian Mercer, watched every news report with growing anger. He had ended their engagement years earlier because he believed building an empire mattered more than building a family. Now, seeing Vivian genuinely happy beside an ordinary single father filled him with jealousy. Determined to separate them, Adrian began investigating Elias's past. He searched for debts. He searched for scandals. He searched for anything that could destroy Vivian's trust. Weeks passed. He found nothing. No criminal record. No hidden fortune. No deception. Only years of honest work, quiet sacrifice, and unwavering devotion to his daughter. The deeper Adrian investigated, the more frustrated he became. Because the only thing extraordinary about Elias Rowan was that he was exactly the man he appeared to be. And that truth was something Adrian could never compete with. Adrian Mercer refused to accept defeat. The more he investigated Elias Rowan, the more frustrated he became. He had expected to uncover hidden debts, dishonest business deals, or some embarrassing secret that would convince Vivian Ashcroft to walk away. Instead, every person he interviewed told the same story. Neighbors described Elias as the man who quietly repaired broken furniture for elderly couples without charging them. Teachers remembered how he never missed a parent meeting for Lily, even after working exhausting days. Families spoke about the toys he built and donated to children who could not afford birthday presents. Adrian finally realized that Elias's greatest strength was something no amount of money could buy, a reputation built on kindness. Unable to find the truth he wanted, Adrian decided to invent a lie. He leaked false rumors to several media outlets, claiming that Elias had only become close to Vivian because he wanted access to her fortune. Within hours, social media exploded with cruel comments. Reporters surrounded the small woodworking shop, and strangers questioned the sincerity of a father who had spent years living quietly without asking anyone for help. The accusations hurt Elias deeply, but what hurt even more was seeing Lily come home from school with tears in her eyes. Some classmates had repeated the rumors they heard from adults, telling her that her father was pretending to be kind because he wanted to marry a billionaire. That evening, Lily looked at Elias with trembling eyes and asked whether people truly believed such terrible things about him. "Marcus, no." Elias gently hugged his daughter and reminded her of something Hannah had always said before she passed away, that the truth may walk slowly, but it always arrives. He told Lily never to measure herself by gossip or by the opinions of people who had never taken the time to know her heart. The following morning, Vivian called a press conference at the headquarters of Ashcroft Medical Technologies. Journalists expected her to deny the relationship or distance herself from the controversy. Instead, she walked onto the stage, invited Elias and Lily to stand beside her, and looked directly into the cameras. She explained that she had spent years surrounded by people who admired her success but ignored her humanity. Then she met a single father who never asked about her company, her wealth, or her influence. He cared only about whether she had eaten, whether she was resting enough, and whether she was smiling. She declared that if the world considered compassion suspicious, then perhaps the world needed to change, not people like Elias. Her words were followed by an unexpected surprise. Dozens of ordinary people entered the conference hall one after another. There was an elderly widow whose roof Elias had repaired after a storm, a young veteran whose wheelchair he had quietly fixed without accepting payment, teachers from Lily's school, and parents from the children's hospital. None of them had been invited by Vivian. They had come on their own after hearing the false accusations. One by one, they shared simple stories of the quiet acts of kindness Elias had done over the years without expecting recognition. By the end of the conference, many reporters had tears in their eyes. The headlines that appeared the next day were no longer about scandal. They were about the humble father who had reminded a nation that goodness still existed. Weeks later, Adrian publicly admitted that the accusations were false and apologized. Vivian chose not to seek revenge. She simply wished him peace and encouraged him to become the kind of person who no longer needed to destroy others to feel successful. On a bright spring afternoon, Vivian returned to the same children's hospital where everything had begun. This time, she was not there for a business announcement. She walked through the garden where she had first met Elias and Lily, carrying a small velvet box. She smiled warmly, looked at Elias, and admitted that the joke he made months earlier had never left her heart. Then she asked if the wish she whispered that day could finally become true. Elias smiled through tears. He gently took her hand. Lily clapped with excitement before either of them could say another word. Their story did not become beautiful because a billionaire fell in love with a single father. It became beautiful because two lonely hearts discovered that love grows where kindness is planted. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who still believes in genuine love, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories filled with hope, family, and second chances. Special request. Comment: kindness builds the strongest family. As the golden afternoon sunlight filled the hospital garden, Elias looked at Vivian, Lily laughed between them, and they realized that the happiest families are not always the ones people expect. Sometimes they begin with a simple joke. Sometimes with an unexpected wish. And sometimes, they begin when two people finally see the goodness that has been there all along.